It's always these guys in the finals.
Yeah, just fantastic rivals, of course. Alireza Firouzja has been on Magnus's radar since he was very, very young, and it looks like we're off. I see the match clock starting, and d4 is the move to kick off the finals of this Speed Chess Championship.
Yes, and for anybody confused, that is quite normal for a ceremonial first move to stick there, and it can be taken back as well. We saw this yesterday, David.
Yeah, we knew that this would happen. We knew that Magnus would drop in a Catalan or two. And this is the exact variation of the Catalan that Alireza Firouzja defended multiple times successfully against Hikaru Nakamura. More than held his own in this variation. And in that one, he was playing the move pawn to f5. He does the same again. Magnus was surely studying this. And here we go. He knows the best moves. The knight has come in, and a4 the first new idea, Levy, as opposed to what Hikaru was doing yesterday.
Yes, for anybody confused how they just managed to rattle off that many moves and not think about it whatsoever, making it look like maybe the way folks at home play, you know, without spending too much time. That's because Magnus quite literally studied about a dozen games or whatever it was from yesterday and comes out with a new way to put a little bit of pressure on the position. David, yesterday Hikaru almost played like 3 or 4 of these positions into dead drawn positions. But Magnus clearly intending to apply pressure. How much experience does he have in these types of Catalan games?
Yeah, Magnus loves the Catalan in general. He loves queenless middle games. He loves endgames, of course. And he likes to have a little imbalance. So here, white having an extra central pawn, white having an outpost on which to plant his knight, and this minority attack of one pawn undermining the 2 black pawns probably is enough for Magnus. He will know that objectively, black is fine, close to level. But I think he doesn't want to take too much risk, especially since he's known as a bit of a slow starter, Magnus. He just wants to feel his way into this game. And I think this is a decent choice, Levy. I kind of expected to see it later in the match, I must admit. But nice to see Alireza as well, standing true to his beliefs that this is fine for black.
For sure. If you're Alireza, this must be quite fascinating, because this is something that you trusted yesterday. The best player in the world has had something like maybe 16 hours, I can't quite do math, to prepare this since the beginning of that match. Or I suppose, well, actually, I guess it would be 23, let's put it this way. But I'm assuming from the end of that match to the preparation phase, something like nearly 1 day to prep something, and the idea is just a little cheeky pawn push on the queen side. Is it a problem, though?
Yeah, that's the big question. A capture would isolate one of the black pawns, but black also would have a pass pawn long term. So while rooks remain on the board, maybe weaknesses that can be targeted, I would say, Levy. But yeah, Magnus also is known to quite enjoy planting his pawns on a6, h6, just waiting for an endgame. We will see. I think I would be skeptical in anyone else's shoes other than Magnus Carlsen. He tends to grind these ones out quite well. There we go. It's the h pawn next, maybe hinting that he'll continue expanding, giving his king some luft. What do you make of, style-wise, this type of position? Alireza, on paper, probably doesn't enjoy it, but he did perform well yesterday.
He did, and he's playing this when he has a lot of time to think. At this point in the 3+1, he would be down to his final minute. I don't like that he is down 2 minutes, but this is very normal for top-level chess. You play something, the other person knew you would play it, they prepared. You're not worse, you're just figuring it out. Magnus also, here's the high-level commentary we all want, is playing the crab, you know, the a4, h4, a5, h5, the pincer attack on both sides of the board, restricting the position. Alireza commits the bishop for knight trade and goes for activity, very true to his style. Those pawns on the outskirts of the board, they do control the black position, but will Magnus maybe overextend?
Yeah, that is the question. Alireza is arguing that, yes, he's given up the bishop pair, but he has damaged the white pawn structure. White now has doubled e-pawns. The pawn majority on the king side, not so impressive, but the pawn majority on the queen side, that's in black's favor. That being said, the black knight is still, for now, pinned, so no immediate threats on the board for Magnus to think about. Just how to make progress. It's not obvious. It's probably the first time in the game Magnus will go into a deep think.
If this doesn't work out for Magnus, I'm not saying he's going to lose. I'm just saying if he makes a draw. Do you think he repeats it? Because there's a very limited amount of ideas in the position. If he doesn't win this game, I kind of doubt he repeats the whole line.
Agree. And maybe he would pivot into something else against what Firouzja's playing. What Alireza's been doing is the most direct way of meeting the Catalan. It's the most direct way of trying to force equality. Shout out to Paul and Anna in the audience there. I think Magnus's whole idea is to stop Alireza from playing this line. He was hoping he could get a big advantage, maybe win, and scare Alireza out of going back to this time and time again in the Catalan. But we will see. I think the victor of this game, or if it's a draw for Alireza, will be very, very happy with the psychological blow.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a very limited number of options, considering the fact that white plays an extremely dense opening with a lot of deviations. The benefit of this line for black, if anybody's wondering, is the fact that it's a very forcing line. You chop on c4 in the center, maybe we can even throw it up on the analysis board while the players think. You chop in the center and you immediately strike the center. White does not have a lot of options to deviate. Like sometimes in these Catalans you play solidly with many, many options each move, but it's not really possible because of this move c5. I feel like this line went out of fashion. I feel like people started playing a little bit differently, but in the modern age of engines, if you just remember a couple of things, that's really chess, and there might not be any good options here.
Exactly. White has other moves in the opening. White has knight to e5, a queen can come out to a4, the knight can come to a3, a pawn sacrifice. But yeah, this is very direct. It's a Grunfeld defense with reversed colors. Going back to the live position, though, this all led to mass liquidations. And queen's off, Magnus with the bishop pair. That's not the most impressive move, I'll say, Levy, putting the bishop on f3. The only idea I can come up with is that he might want to play g4 to try and undermine the king side there, change the structure.
And he is very good at making these small questions. Just like Hikaru is best, I know he didn't have his best couple of days, but he is one of the best players in the world at posing questions to you as you try to convert a position. Magnus is very good at just playing tennis or paddle, just hitting the ball back. Bishop e1. Now black has to make a move. What do you play? Do you bring your king closer? That's normal in endgames. Do you start advancing your b-pawn? But if you advance your b-pawn, it's not protected anymore. You have to push it one more square. Do you maybe try to slide the rook in somewhere? Do you move the knight? Can't do that, so you try to move the rook. I don't know. It's not an easy position for black.
Yeah, it's definitely playing against the clock time. Alireza historically doesn't enjoy these positions where it's a bit slower, no obvious plan, no calculation. That's why he's burning time on the clock, trying to come up with what to do next. I quite like this idea, just to get out the way. At least then you can think about moving the knight. But yeah, this feels a bit awkward. He drops back. Now he really does want to get the knight out the way, maybe trade the rooks, trade off some bishops, get rid of the bishop pair. Actually, if the rooks disappear, black's doing more than fine. So we'll see Magnus keeping the rooks on, pressure on the b-pawn.
And not easy to move the knight now. Of course, white is kind of threatening to take in the center, maybe at the right moment. First of all, black loses the b-pawn just completely because you take back with something that's not a rook. Then your position still is okay. You have the opposite color bishops. You can maybe take with the rook and try to take in the center. That does look very clumsy. Okay, bishop c6. Maybe now you play something like a rook c1. Those are the Magnus type of moves. You know, you move the bishop in front of the rook, and then all of a sudden you're poorly coordinated.
Yeah, he's milked these types of advantages into much more. Of course, many times in his career, Magnus, he's 1 minute up. Yeah, I could imagine him playing like rook b3 or king g2 or king h2. At some point, he's going to try and set a trap or create a threat, but I don't see it yet. Spending a bit of time now, Magnus. Such an important game. Alireza, we talked about match strategy beforehand. It feels like he has to hold this one. He cannot fall behind this early in the match.
Like I said, last time these two met, September 2024, it was over within the first hour. Alireza lost a couple of games, and at that point, you almost spiral. You don't have a huge amount of like self-belief in summoning a comeback when you have things going wrong in multiple openings that you are playing. So it would be a huge hold for him. King f1 is not an impressive move, right? It's just kind of going back, evening out on the clock. Will Alireza force things now? Jump a knight out of the way, trade some bishops, or will he maybe advance his b-pawn? Maybe he doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah, maybe he can sit still, do nothing. Maybe he can challenge the a-file as well. Plenty of options for Alireza, but has to speed up. First time one of the players has dropped below 1 minute in this game. And yeah, this is not an easy position to just pre-move. There will be decisions, there will be choices.
Can you imagine how crazy this event would be if there was just no bonus time in any segment? But just like, you get down to low time, you're going to lose on time. That would be nuts. The players would be playing at such a rampant pace. Now with this +1, you can hang on. And David, I know you're a time trouble player.
Yep.
You do think a lot in your games. I mean, you're 2,700, it obviously is helping. But there's a pressure when you're playing with 5 seconds on the clock.
Exactly. There's always stress. There's always half an eye on the clock. That's the way chess is going. Esports World Cup, no increment. Titled Tuesdays these days, no increment. I think actually at the EWC, that was where Alireza fell down. He was always at the 1-2 minute mark while Magnus had so much more time, and he just couldn't keep up for the long haul. But okay, that's another just waiting move, a pass move from Magnus. Maybe he'll double up. Maybe he'll slide the other rook across. 25 seconds. This better not be foreshadowing what we see over the next few turns, the next few games even, as he challenges the a-file.
Yep. Casual little 99% for both players. 98.8 actually is what my family would have said when I brought a test home from school. But let's round up. Just a very solid game to start. A little bit of rook shuffling. I think Magnus will try to put some pressure here, though, David. I just don't really know how.
I was wondering if he's going to try and like play rook takes b6.
Ooh,
maybe there was some tactics. Maybe we would have still seen a position with Magnus up a pawn, but getting rid of the bishop pair for Alireza would be enough. Now it's pure opposite color bishops with rooks left.
Yeah.
But only on one side of the board, the pawns.
And Magnus will not trade 2 pairs. So rook b7, he's not going to trade the second rook, because that would be a total draw. The bishops are not going to work out here. Bishop c4 just wins a pawn.
Yeah, it's coming. How to stop it? Magnus allows it and blocks with his bishop. That's cunning.
That's a cooler, you know, like in poker. And now 10 seconds on the clock. Alireza is not going to like this.
Yeah, he doesn't go for the bishop exchange. Maybe that was fine too, but a pure rook endgame. White has the extra pawn. Black's e6 pawn would be a weakness without its bishop. And again, Magnus would dodge this for sure. He's building the pressure, and the clock, it makes me worry, Levy, here, that Alireza might panic at some point.
Absolutely. Although that pawn that Magnus pushed on the right side of the board, now it's a liability. It's on a light square, and that bishop is going to target it, but the rook sneaks around to the back rank. I don't know what the threat is. Bishop c5, that would have been mate.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Bishop to f8, the blue arrow just appeared. Let me turn that arrow blue again. There we go. Bishop f8 is the winning move, Levy. He did panic. He walked into it, and Magnus has found it. Of course Magnus did. He's about to win a second pawn. That is vital in a position like this.
The first mistake Alireza made happens to be fatal. It's a endgame mistake, leaving a weakness. Magnus pounces on it immediately, and those graphs, that's exactly how his games go. Although it's not over, there is some counterplay here, David.
Definitely counterplay. White has the h-pawn. White's winning long term, but can he dodge all the checks?
It's mate. Bishop f1, rook h2.
Oh, watch out. Watch out. Oh, Magnus makes a path for his king. So calm and classy there. It's coming.
Yeah, this is looking like the king runs away, the pawn runs away, and you give a couple checks, the king backs up, and White is winning here within 3 to 5 moves.
Okay, one last trick would be to threaten a checkmate on h5, but Magnus Carlsen gets the first game. A typical Carlsen grind.